If you're one of my followers on Instagram, you would have seen that recently I had my photo shoot that I've been prepping for the last 4 months. I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a quick recap of how the photo shoot prep went, what I sort of learned, what I wish I did better for next time, what I did good, any other teachings in general that I feel like are important throughout this video. The actual photo shoot went really well. I had a few concerns going into it. I was definitely nervous. So just worried about other stuff as well with like, the photographer and with the actual location that I had hired out. Things would fall through with this, but everything went smoothly, everything went great. Here's a quick recap. The first 8 weeks with my nutrition and my training, I was doing about 4 sessions a week at the gym. Rugby league about 3 times a week. So I was doing about 2 training sessions of rugby league and then 1 game a week. If I didn't have a game for rugby league, I would do a boxing session instead. Initially, I was doing 5 gym sessions, but I found that I had a few injuries. So I really needed to decrease my load so I could manage my injuries a lot better. Because I remember when I first started my photo shoot prep, I had a lower back sprain, which sort of cooked me for about a good 4 weeks. That was kind of annoying because it sort of affected my lower body sessions. I couldn't really do squats or anything like that. I also had a slight hamstring tear as well in rugby league preseason, which also put me out for another about 5 weeks. Still obviously do things at the gym, doing what I could on the field in terms of, if I could jog, then I would jog. But that's the exact same. I couldn't really push myself with leg days. This whole photo shoot prep, the leg days, I still did my leg days, but they were definitely not as heavy as I could have gone just because there was so many injuries that I had. I did that hamstring and then I redid that hamstring a few weeks later after recovering, probably about a month later. Towards the end of the photo shoot prep, but I didn't do it as bad. I was sort of a bit smarter. I could feel it and I was like, alright, I'm gonna leave it. So it was only about a 2 or 3 week recovery for that. As for my nutrition, what I was doing was I was eating about 2,300 calories, so I was in about a calorie deficit of about 400 to 500. But in saying that, I was also doing a lot of exercise at the time as well, so it very well could have been a lot bigger of a deficit. It's kind of hard to track calorie burn with footy training and all that because there's some days where I had work, so I got there and I could only do half training session. Some days where I could do the full training session. Games and stuff like that with rugby league games. Some weeks we had games, some weeks we didn't. So I'd do boxing, which would be a bit of a different calorie burn. But ultimately, I was eating that calorie deficit of about 2,300. I was losing about a kilo a week, so I was losing very quickly. I wasn't really too concerned about my macros. All I was worried about was my protein and getting double my body weight in grams of protein daily at least. So my body weight, throughout the process went from 86 down to about 73. So I lost about 13 kilos in the 16 weeks of prep. So I was always eating around 200 grams of protein a day. But I wasn't really too worried about the other factors. I was just worried about keeping all my other macros sort of balanced in those first 2 months. The rest of the later phases, from about 10 weeks onwards, when I was about, 6 weeks out from my photo shoot itself, that's when I started to properly focus in because I've got, most of the fat off. Now it was like, the harder fat to get off, which, you really need to lower your fats for. Really sort of dial in your diet even more for. Throughout the whole journey with my eating, I was using our 20-cent shop approach that I use in our program, which essentially means that 20% of your daily calories goes towards, your sort of foods that you're craving that don't really support nutritional goals. And then the other 80% goes towards foods that do support nutritional goals, just so I could eat, my favorite foods in moderation and keep my diet mostly healthy and, mostly whole foods as well. My lunch prep was the same as well, having just mince and rice cakes and lettuce, throughout the whole process. Everything else sort of changed. I was having like protein yogurts, apples, protein cookies as a sweet treat, Kit Kat Chunkies as well, sometimes as a sweet treat. And then my dinner was pretty much the same as well throughout the whole journey, which was a rotisserie chicken with homemade potato chips. I actually really enjoyed having these, so I wasn't really complaining. I would mix it up as well. I had different things like protein pizzas, protein burritos and stuff like that from FroPro. And then I also mix it with a bit of takeaway too. I was just going and getting like GYG and grilled and Nando's and stuff like that, places where I knew, there was good options for fat loss, where it's high protein and somewhat lower calorie. So I was probably getting about takeaway 3 to 4 times a week in those initial first 8 to 10 weeks. And in that last sort of 6 weeks before prep, really dialed in on my nutrition. I brought my fats real low to below 50 grams. I upped my carbs and I also just kept my protein around that sort of double my body weight mark. I have a mid-season break with footy, so in those last 6 weeks I wasn't playing any footy or doing any training, so I did just take up boxing. I got my boxing gym membership back up so I could, access the boxing gym 24/7, and I was doing about 3 sessions of boxing a week, sometimes even just going to the fields with my mates or by myself and, doing a bit of footy to keep fresh with that. I did also decrease my calories from 2,300 to about 1,800 to 1,900, that sort of range. A big sort of mistake that I made through the middle of this was around week 8, I was losing pretty quickly and I was worried that I was actually going to be I was going to be in peak too early in the shape that I wanted to be in for the photo shoot too early than, you know, what I was actually expecting. This wasn't the case at all. It ended up being that I actually wanted to be a bit leaner when I got to the photo shoot. I was still happy with the photo shoot, of course, but I definitely wish I could have been like another kilo or two down, just to be little bit leaner. But that's what I've learned for next time. But without, you know, I've never had this experience where, you know, you're trying to lose weight and you've got like a timed thing where, you know, you're leading up to an event that you need to lose the weight for. Yes, I've done cuts and stuff like that before, but I've never had a set date that I had to be ready by. And I've definitely never been as lean as I am now. I've been somewhat close to it, but definitely not as sort of lean as I got for that photo shoot. I've probably been maybe a few kilos off, 2 to 3% off that body fat percentage before. So yeah, my calories were pretty aggressive. I wasn't really going out to social events as much in those last 6 weeks, which is as expected. You know, if you want to, you know, to get good results or really good results, sometimes you do have to sacrifice these things. For general fat loss, as I said, in those first sort of 8 to 10 weeks, I was still going out getting takeaway multiple times a week. I was still going out basically every weekend with my friends. I say going out doesn't have to mean drinking or anything like that, but I definitely was having some alcohol every few weeks. But those last 6 weeks, I was very rarely doing it. The takeaway places I got were very just stuck to, so it was just grilled or GYG or Nando's. And I was getting it about 2, maybe sometimes 3 times a week I was getting takeaway. But even what I was getting from takeaway was very limited as well. Like, it was from GYG, it was a mini Caesar salad, a chicken Caesar salad. From grilled, it was just, you know, just a burger and HFC bites. And then Nando's, I would just get, you know, some just straight chicken, and then I'd make my own chips at home. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed the process, and I definitely want to do it again. One thing I'm mad about though is for the photo shoot, I did want to get a fireman outfit on and make my own fireman calendar. That didn't quite come to play because it ended up not getting delivered, and it's still waiting on delivery to this day. It's been like 5 weeks now, which I was a bit mad about. I was like, damn, I kind of wanted to make like a joke 5-man calendar, but it is what it is. Next time. That was sort of my plan with the photo shoot prep and what I did. So my main issue was thinking I was peaking too early when, you know, in other cases, I would have just kept going on the plan that I was going instead of sort of pausing myself. Because what I was sort of doing was on the weekends, I was keeping my calories the same during the week. But on the weekends, I was just putting myself up to a maintenance, so sometimes even slightly higher than maintenance, just to slow my fat loss rate down. And I did that for about 3 to 4 weeks until I realized that, I actually need to start playing catch up. It also came with its other challenges. As I said, there was quite a few injuries, so my training program annoyingly was constantly being changed to suit to my injuries. But it definitely kept it interesting, and I'm definitely glad it's all done now. But I've definitely set a new standard for myself throughout this whole photo shoot process, and I can't wait to keep on getting in even better shape for next time. I have got some big plans coming up in the next few months, so that I am going to be prioritizing first, which I will have an update video for you guys in the next few weeks. Now though, I'm just sitting back at maintenance, you know, doing a bit of reverse dieting. So I did slightly increase my calories after the photo shoot, and I'm sort of getting my way into a maintenance now, just so I can get, you know, sort of my body, the nutrition it's sort of been lacking, specifically in those last 6 weeks of photo shoot prep. And just so I can actually enjoy life a bit more as well, you know, with maintenance calories, I can go out on the weekends, go have some drinks with people, because the next plan that I will have for you guys in the update video in a few weeks of what I'm moving on to next will tell you guys a bit more. But yeah, for the next few weeks, I'm going away on holiday very soon as well, going to Japan, Greece, and Hungary. So essentially, yeah, I'm just going to go enjoy my holiday, and for the next few weeks before I go on holiday, I'm going to be revisiting what my next sort of goals are. And yeah, going from there.